So this is our final Talk Tuesday of the 2023 year. Our next one will be January 9th, 2024. So we're so happy you could be here. We know the holiday rush is upon us, but we do have a great presentation today and we're looking forward to it. So we'd like to just introduce ourselves. I'm Christine Killand. I'm a consultant at CERC. I am here with my colleague, Stephen Profit. Anne-Marie Cardisco couldn't join us today, but she will be back the next time. Lisa Ladowdy, and also Holly Ryan, who's with us. We're here with our CSDE partners as well. We have Carly Sullivan-Custer and Jay Brown. Today, our content piece is on family engagement, supporting multilingual and immigrant families. We are so happy right now to have Nitza Diaz as a CERC consultant join us, who does a lot of work in this area in all parts of Connecticut. She's also joining us with Lourdes Delgado, who's a faith and education support for the state of Connecticut. And she's also a retired principal from Bridgeport Public Schools. I'll wrap up towards the end with just some upcoming attendance and engagement information, but let's move forward. So some quick updates with Superintendent's Digest, and if you see the QR code is at the bottom of the slide along with the link. So you could dive into these as you move along once we send out the slides. But right now, we just want to bring to your attention some things that might be important to you. The 5-year comprehensive plan for education, that it really is an important link to join to really see the State Board of Education's vision in the next 5 years and see how the districts align to that. So it's something that you might want to look into moving forward. Also, the updated guidance regarding that Public Act 23137, which is extending the IDEA eligibility, something that you really want to dive into as well. And we have some things here with just grants and programs and reports that you can look into. If something really resonates with you, we encourage you to really hit the link and dive in a little bit more. There is an interdistrict cooperative grant program that is something you might want to dive into a little bit to see if this program might fit the needs within your district. We're really proud to announce that CSDE is launching the School is Better with You campaign to promote that daily school attendance and combat chronic absenteeism. We've been mentioning this, brought to your attention last Talk Tuesday when Caroline Calhoun did a little bit deeper dive into it, but we really encourage you to check it out, try it out, and let us know if you need any support in that area. We are here to support you. Also, the profile and performance reports for 22-23 should all be live, something to really reference. Those profile performance reports, they are really beneficial. It breaks down a lot of things within the schools and the districts with numbers, with chronic absenteeism is reported on those as well, demographics, some testing results, also fiscal and budget and how that's broken down per district. So they really are worth referencing. And actually now I will turn it over to Kari Sullivan-Custer and she can go through her data information. Go ahead, Kari.
Hi, everyone. 1 second. I'm trying to get my screen to line up here. I'm seeing way too much stuff. Okay. Good morning and welcome to Talk Tuesday. And so today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about data, or not even talk to you. I wanted to hear from you. If you could take a look at this graph. This is October 2023 monthly, year-to-date monthly data for student groups. Compared to last year and a couple of years before that. And I'm wondering if you take a second or a minute to take a look at it and let me know what you're thinking when you see this. What groups do you see changing? What groups are not changing? And then put it in the chat what your thoughts about this chart. So we're seeing, I'm going to ask if anybody wants to volunteer to share what their thoughts are. Or if you think of, does this reflect what you're seeing in your district? Are you seeing your students experiencing homelessness come down? Are you seeing your students with disabilities come down? Although they're all really still too high. Are you noticing that your students without high needs are not, their attendance is not improving as quickly as our other student groups? Wondering if any of you on your school attendance teams are looking at this data. You know, these monthly reports are available by school, by district, and by student group. So you can do this yourselves to look at how are we doing compared to the end of last year. Anyone have any successes they want to share?
I'll share.
And
Oh,
go ahead, Erica.
no, we're seeing the same thing. A lot of our students, we're coming close to our pre-pandemic rate. We're not there yet, but our students without high needs, they're slower we're slower to see that rate going up. So we are trying to focus on those groups because we feel a lot of the other groups have support built in around them, whether it's case managers or ML teachers, things like that, or homeless liaisons. So we are focusing on our students that don't naturally have built-in supports around them in school.
Have you identified any of the root causes behind this student group? We know the student group is already pretty low, but it's doubled still from where it was, you know, before the pandemic.
We are seeing like increase of some mental health needs, some anxiety, things like that within that group is what we are seeing. So that's one of them.
Anyone else have anything to share from their district? Anything that you're seeing your data may not be looking this way and what you're doing about that? Because many districts we've seen a great reduction from October 2022. I would say great. October 2022 to October 2023. We were at 22.8% in October 2022, 22.8, and we are 17.8 this year. So we dropped 5 points from the beginning of last year to the beginning of this year. We're still way too high, but we're coming back down. I haven't seen the November data yet. I'm not sure how that looks. How's everybody feeling about November? If you want to put in the chat, November chronic absence in your district or attendance in your district on a scale of a 1 to 5, 1 being really good, 5 being like we're disappointed it wasn't as good as we thought it would be. If you could put that in the chat, and when we come back in December, okay, I'm sorry. When we come back in December, we can see how we did in November. We'll have that November data, like I said, by the end of the week, and you can always go and download those data reports using this QR code. And so I just wanted to kind of have a conversation with folks, see how you're doing with data instead of just presenting the data, you know, trying to see, you know, how does this look in your district? How are you doing? And do you relate to this or not relate to this? So any comments you might have in the chat would be really helpful in helping us determine future Talk Tuesdays and other supports for districts. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Christine. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Kari. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to move along to our presenters for today. So we are pleased to offer this content piece on family engagement, supporting multilingual and immigrant families. We are so proud to have with us Nisa Diaz, STIR consultant, and Lourdes Delgado, Faith and Education for the state of Connecticut, also that retired principal from Bridgeport. We do thank you, and I turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nitsa. She just told you who I am. I work at CERC and I work on the Family Engagement Initiative and other ones as well, but I'm going to talk to you about some of the family engagement things. And Lourdes, I don't see you. I'm like, where are you?
I'm here, but I don't know why this thing isn't showing me. I'm so sorry. I
Yep.
don't, this is the first time I use this computer for this, for Zoom, and I have no idea. But trust me, I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay, good, good. So we're gonna talk to you a little bit about immigrant families, and you'll notice when I share my screen that I have immigrant in quotes, right? Because who is an immigrant and who are we referring to? Because if we go all the way back to our ancestors, none of us are, we are all related to, we all migrated here, including myself. Maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10. But before any of those things, I am going to show you a video of a parent who was asked by her child, "What is your American dream?" And this was her answer. And I want you to think about whether this resonates with what you see in your district from families. Are you able to see the screen or not?
Yes, we're able to see it.
You see the video?
Although it went black right now, I did see it.
Okay. Are you able to see it?
I'm able to see it now, yes.
So he's about 14, 15. So he was asking his mom, what is the American dream for you? What do you want? Right? This is a parent of a current student. And let me know if you're not able to hear it. It's very short.
And what's your definition of the American dream?
My definition. Você terminar de estudar bem.
Okay.
Você e o Wallace. My dream, it's you guys' dream, like you dream.
Okay.
And
So, like-
always fazer o melhor para você e pro Wallace. E o dream é ver vocês bem. Ver que vocês conseguiram ser melhor do que nós.
All right. And
All right. So were you able to hear what she said? Was it clear?
Yes.
What was her American dream? That parent. Anybody?
Sure. Just to see her child to do better than they were doing, right? To move forward.
Is that different from anyone else?
Nope.
No. So what? So I want you to now think about the following, right? And I'm gonna share something that truly is a cultural program. So I want you to think about this, right? So parent comes and says, Nita, I need you to help me call the detention center because I'm not sure where my brother is, the parent of the kids. I say to myself, okay, I don't know the number, but I will call, I will find the number. And then I say, wait a minute, but you have a green card, why can't you call? And then she said, because even though I have a green card, I don't have a citizenship, and they told me that I could still be deported. And then I said, wait a minute, but you've been here for over 20 years. I almost go like, why would you think that? She's like, can you just call for me? And then I say, okay. So I'm telling you this with that American dream, with this family, with this other family, whose children, her children are doing very well in school. You know, they are successful, but she still has that fear. So in our presentation, I'm here just to talk to you a little bit about how do we, what I like to call cultural organizing, right? How do we promote the success and the wisdom of these families, of the families who are what we're calling immigrant families and students, right? And it is for us to have that deeper understanding of their assets. If I sit here with you guys and everyone would say to me, if I start telling you these are their challenges, I think somewhat you may know what challenges they have, right? You may understand that language barriers and you will see a little bit and other things are there. But before I do that, let me just give you a little bit of context of these numbers because they're pretty big. So this is from 2021, right? From the American Community Survey US data from the Department of Education. There were 649,000 children that were counted. So notice what I'm saying, they were counted. Doesn't mean that it is completely correct. Who were not born here between 5 and 17, who've been in the USA for 3 years or less. There were 1.5 million children, 5 to 17, who have been in the US for more years. We know that Florida, California, New York, and Texas have the highest number of newly arrived immigrants. We also know that 50% of the children identified as Latino or Latina. We know in this newer demographic shift that 13% of the children who are arrived are from Mexico, and the majority, the 21%, are from Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. Do any of these newly arrived families resonate? Besides, obviously, there's other families from the Middle East, you know, Syria, refugee families, and etc. Resonate with some of your demographic shifts in your school districts? Yay, no. So in Connecticut, I'm going to share with you, because I put a slide and then I have to show you the graphic, right? We have in the whole United States, 9% of the children, youth 14 through 17, who arrived 3 years or less here, they're not even in school. They haven't been enrolled. That means we don't know where they are. We know 15% of the 18 through 21 did not have a high school diploma when they came. So what we know is that the shift in demographics is different from what we used to see. So I need you to think about that when we think about those practices in terms of what is it that you're currently doing to engage families with a new demographic shift for a profile, for lack of a better word. Is it the same as before? Is it a little different? Or is it that you haven't really thought about it? And I just need you to think about that. So when Lourdes starts sharing her practices and what they do in Bridgeport and all other parts of the state, you know, maybe we can talk about how that will work for your high school, for your school. So I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second, and actually maybe I'm going to share you the, Christine, I'm going to put the graphic for that data in Connecticut in the chat. So we know that there's psychological trauma. We know that there are barriers. We know that there's lack of understanding. We know that there's cultural shock. We know that there's a fear of deportation. We know that there's lack of trust. We know that they don't feel like they belong. And authority roles change within the family. What does that mean? That means that a family, a mom and dad and kids arrive, and usually we know that the children will learn English faster than the parents, and that perhaps the mom is going to get a job faster than the dad. If that is the case, and this is a country where family is really important, So I need you to think about what those roles now look like. So now the mom has to give up a little bit of her power to go to the school with her child, because maybe she doesn't know that there could be an interpreter. And now the dad, as the head of the household that he was back in his country, does not see that here and what is going on in his head. And what do we do about it? Does anybody want to talk about, have they seen any of these challenges in their school district? Maybe yes, maybe no. You can put it in the chat as well.
I can talk a little bit about it. We do see that it's very challenging, and we see the fear in our families faces, and especially the children. The children are more fearful about their families being deported than themselves. There was a time where that Iris, I think it was Iris or something like that. I don't know if it was Iris or I don't know what it was, that came in to New Haven one time. It was years ago, where they were just rounding them up like if they were animals. And it was the most horrific time, where these children used to not come to school. And when finally we got a hold of them, because they were chronically absent, of course, their thing was, I don't want to leave my father, I don't leave my mother at home because of this. And to know that they have that fear of leaving their father and their mother behind, because by the time they got home, they were not going to be there. It was so shocking to them, the trauma, and it's still there. That trauma is still there. So that even though we are a sanctuary city, it's still there, and those families still feel it, and it's so hard to let them know that, yeah, you're safe here. You are safe here with us. Nothing's going to happen to you, so that education to families. So we do have Iris that helps us out so much. And we have our attorneys that we reach out to, and that we say, I need you to help this family. And our community providers that we reach out to, can we speak to this family? And regardless of their status, they help out, and they educate the families on what's going on with their statuses. But that fear is always going to be there, because they see it in other cities, they see it in other towns and other states, and they think that regardless, it's going to happen to them. So that, and knowing that a child is going to come to school with that in their mind, are they going to be there 100%? No, they're not. They're not. And that is going to boil down on what they're doing in school, and everything is just like a dominoes effect.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I live in New Haven, so I totally get it. So for me, I don't know that experience, right? But I do respect that experience, and I validate that experience, because I don't know what it feels like to have that fear. I understand, right? My husband is Colombian, so I went to do that interview for the green card when we got married, and I was even scared. I was like, well, I shouldn't be scared. Like, I'm a Puerto Rican, I was born a U.S. citizen, but I was scared. Like, I was scared because we hear stories like, oh, they're gonna take you to jail if they think it's not true. I don't know. So in my head, like, that little bit of fear that I was going, like, over 20 years ago when I went, I cannot imagine a child who's maybe 10 wanting to come to school, knowing that perhaps they might not see their parents again. And I'm not, and obviously I am not here for us to feel bad, like, I bendito, like, yeah, sorry, like, I don't want us to do that. I want us to learn how to now look at it from the perspective of what assets do the families bring in order for us to engage them. And I found this graphic, right? Because when the families, this is a mom in this case, when we migrated from one state to another state, perhaps, or this is a family who migrated from, maybe she's a refugee or somebody who is seeking asylum from Central America, etc., etc. They carry this burden with them, and this is going to cross to the USA. I don't remember when I came to the US that I had that. I remember not knowing. I came here for high school, not knowing a lot of English, but I don't remember my parents having this. So I say that to say that we now have to start thinking about those practices that are going to help our families truly trust us and have that relationship, because it's not like the same. So this I was when I was trying to put some slides together for you, I found this really nicely put pyramid, and this is a model that was created by Mei Young Chen Han, and this person, she's also an immigrant, and she created a model that says continuum of immigrant parent involvement. I just put engagement quote. And what she said is that when we're thinking about programming, we have to think about it in this pyramid way, right? We are going to get the families, the first ones, those are the cultural survivals. Those are the newly arrived. I arrived yesterday. I need help. Maybe IRIS, that refugee organization, is going to help me. And those, perhaps, they've been here, they just got here, they're maybe experiencing homelessness. They know nothing about the systems. They don't even know where they have to go. They're just right now in basic survival mode. They're not thinking about whether the kid is going to show up to school or not, because they just got here. And remember, they're carrying that baggage. But because there's always that cultural broker, they while they're here, they're learning the system and understand what things they need to do in order to help their children, right? So they become the cultural learners. And those learners are getting information from that broker, who could be a parent or who could be someone like Lourdes, who are those connectors who say, I can help you meet these other needs so that your children can attend school. How do I support you? Do you understand what it looks like when your child does not go to school? Did you know that they have to go to school and they cannot miss school? And then the same thing, and at the end, when we see the connectors, we also see that these connectors, because they are those brokers, learn the schooling system and learn that in the USA, parents and schools are partners in that. And here in that education, so they themselves can be those advocate leaders. And so when I looked at this, I said to myself, truly, this is how we see the families here in our state, for the districts that I've been working with, because I need to now think about practices that are going to help the parents who might be in that survival mode, because they just got here. So think about where your families are right now. Does anybody have an example that they would like to share? Oh, if you know where they are, you can say, oh, I think maybe this is the demographics I'm getting that we have. It's okay if no one has any examples, no big deal. So I'm going to ask, before I go to the practices slides, I'm going to ask Lourdes to tell us a little bit about, Lourdes, what is it that you do to ensure that the families who are newly arrived or immigrant families, when you work with them about education, what are some of the things you do before to talk to them about not missing school? And I know we cannot see you. Oh, Go ahead, Jean. Do you have?
I'm sorry. I talked
First
too
and
much.
foremost, I really apologize. I have no idea, and I do appreciate Christine who texted me about finding a carrot that I don't see a carrot in here. And quite frankly, this has never happened to me before. But you know, new experiences, and talk about new experiences, we're talking about our families. And this indeed is what our families do confront on a daily basis. You know, I'm going to share a little story first. In 1986, my husband had to go on a business trip to Japan. And well, you can't see me, but I'm pretty, you know, I'm pretty fair skinned. I was dark haired, now I'm fully gray. And my husband, you know, is fair skinned. And again, he was at the time, he was very dark haired, now medium gray. But the point is that he went to Japan on this trip. He, of course, had to have someone accompany him throughout the whole time because, number one, he didn't know the language. Number two, he didn't know the community. And number three, he really stuck out like a sore thumb. And I remember looking at the pictures that they took of him with his Asian friends or his Asian colleagues, and clearly he stood out. He definitely wasn't culture shock because it wasn't something that he'd experienced. And I often remind my parents about this situation because that is how many of them feel. And you would think here in the U.S., where gee whiz, you know, it's not like in Japan, with the primary population is Japanese. Here you do have a lot of different looking people, different living people, different cultures, but it's still a real culture shock. I work with parents, and let me tell you, primarily, I retired as a Bridgeport educator a few years ago, and I immediately began working, or should I say, serving, volunteering with this organization, the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, on education. So I'm the Faith and Education Coalition Director. And bottom line, what I do is work with congregations throughout the state, primarily Spanish speaking, but not limited to it, to expose them to different areas relating to education. And with this, we began implementing a course. It's a parenting course. It's called Raising Highly Capable Kids. It's based on the 40 developmental assets of the Search Institute, which I believe most of you are very familiar with. And one of the things that I have discovered with the people, and I'll be honest with you, the issue of immigration didn't really like hit me until after I retired, when I was working with certain students who have been who were raised here. And I became a mentee to a couple of them, and one little girl tells me, I can't go to college. And of course I asked her, what do you mean you can't go to college? Everybody can go to college. She says, no, I don't have papers. And I said, what papers? You know, it really, I honestly was totally like out of a different world. And I said, I don't have, I'm not documented. I don't have papers to be here in the, you know, for the US. She was brought when she was little. This girl was 17, and she knows no other country except the US. However, she was feeling that she couldn't go on. Well, of course, I needed to start researching that because there was no way any young person that I've worked with was not going to be able to go to college, and we were able to find resources, etc. So all I kept thinking is this young lady, her greatest fear that she's working on all these years to be a, you know, top-notch student, you know, she was a straight A student, and she didn't even know she's going to be able to make it to college. And that's to me, that was almost a self-defeating, because there was such uncertainty. However, of course, we've worked with that, and there are many other resources available, and now especially, but with this parenting course that by the way, the mother also took the course, but with the parenting course, what I have found is that number one, obviously the uncertainty. Parents come here, like every parent, like Nitsa mentioned, my parents, I was a little one when I got here. I must have been about one. And being a Puerto Rican, I'm a US citizen. I'm able to take advantage of everything. And we didn't see ourselves affected by anything except that we were Puerto Rican American. So we're going to school, we're going to college. But I'm finding this group of people, of course, that come here looking for the American dream. But the American dream isn't really it's not the milk and honey that they had dreamed of. All right, or we don't even say the milk and honey anymore, but it's not the land that they expected, especially in some cases where they're feeling not welcome. And education to me is the number one place where our children and our parents should be welcome. And I'm gonna give you one example that is such a simple example. When I started in the late 70s, and I started actually as a paraprofessional first. When I began as a paraprofessional, there were a lot of Spanish speaking and Portuguese, because at the time there were a couple of schools that were Portuguese, a lot of high populated Portuguese communities, and Spanish. And in the offices, there was always someone who spoke Spanish or Portuguese. And because both languages are sort of similar, they could communicate. However, what we're finding now is that I can tell you that I myself, when parents ask me, I go and I accompany them, because I will accompany them to the school, because I don't even have someone in the main office who can help them and guide them. And I just feel that that's one of the most, I remember years ago with the parenting funds, the parent engagement funds, you want to have the school be a very welcoming environment, but right at the door, you have to say, wait a minute, let me stop. Or I've seen actually where they actually go and let me call for a translator, and I got to tell you something, that is just no good. There's so much that's missed in that process. It's just not effective. I'm not saying that it's not altogether good, but you know what? There's nothing as welcoming as someone who can shake your hand, although post-COVID, we're a little hesitant with that, but can give you a smile. Welcome in your language, and it's primarily because most of the kids that are coming in are Spanish. In your language, they can share. Our parents are telling us that they're even this is something that's really important, and I can imagine many of you and many of your families who are monolingual speakers. You may send a flyer home in English, right? And they can read it. They don't fully comprehend. I was actually right now I'm doing the opposite. Now I'm working in senior center. And I was having a conversation with one of the parents that came in, one of the parents of a young child who came in to pick up their mother, who is the grandmother that's here. And the conversation ensued around the fact that even though it was the same language, the communication wasn't there because it's not a language that they understand. The jargon is not the jargon that they understand. And having someone who can explain to them right there, this is the opportunity that you can have. This is what happens. Especially, I'm finding a lot of our parents are very unsure with high school. I just spoke to a mom a couple of days ago because the kids are getting ready for high schools. And the parents want the kids to go to college, but they're unsure what the vocational schools offer, what the different kinds of schools, all of that. And you can give a workshop, and you know what, and I'm guilty because we gave workshops, and I remember translating them myself for our 7th and 8th grade parents. But it is not the same to regurgitate information and data than to really explain, give them examples, and give them a chance to actually go and visit the schools, get this experience. And I think off the top of my head, that's really something that we have found that has affected a lot of our parents. Another thing is that many of our parents don't know what the opportunities, and this is a misconception, by the way, that they're out here just to get whatever there is for free. Many of our parents work hard. They work very hard, and they're willing to pay, and they're willing to work hard, even if it means taking their kids to work, so that they can pay for extracurricular activities, etc. But many times our parents aren't aware of that. Again, because it's an announcement. I'm just gonna make up a word. I don't want to say a word that someone would know. Supercalifragilistic, let's say. Okay, so let's say you're sending out a flyer that says supercalifragilistic, and your people that have been there for a while understand that that's a specific program geared toward the arts, movies, whatever it is. They don't know. They don't know. So then I hear, and I've heard this, well, they sent this flyer, but I don't know what it means. So I think the effective communication reflects compassion. And I'm thinking again, going back to the many stories my husband told us when he went to Japan, and he was just so lost. And the experience of, and mind you, considerably Japan was pretty safe, but he just felt like, gee whiz, is someone gonna go against me because I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. And I think that I know that many of our parents are feeling that they're judged because they don't understand, or because you often hear, and I still see this. So it's a misconception that because they don't comprehend English, they're deaf. I still see this. So they're speaking louder when in fact it's not a hearing issue. It's a language issue. So we need to really provide educational opportunities for the parents as well. And I know that there are many ESL opportunities throughout for the parents. As a matter of fact, so I just received a notice yesterday about an evening, the need for an evening ESL teacher in one of the local organizations. And I think it's really good that the local organizations are reaching out to provide ESL services within their communities. But it's really hard for a parent or a family to come here. Dad is working full time, and minimum wage, $15 an hour. Mom working so hard, and then wanting to go to school, but who's going to watch the kids? So and as a matter of fact, in the course that we offer, we make sure that we provide childcare one way or another, with a volunteer, or if we can get a little grant somewhere to compensate, because a parent can't be comfortable learning about how to be a better parent if they're unsure about where their child is, or who their child is, or the safety of their child. So there's a lot that encompasses that. But within our course, another component, and I don't know how much time we have, but another component that we found is that many of our parents come in here culturally, and barriers that were barriers for them were not, here are or are not barriers. Many of our parents are from very conservative homes and don't understand the culture here in America that tends to be not as conservative. And they're not, and many feel that they're not respected. I can think of one particular mom who works while she gets cleaning jobs while her kids are in school, because she wants to make sure that when her kids are out of school, she is with them every single day, every single moment of the day. But she likes to, as in our course, she was able to take our course only because we provided childcare. Otherwise, she would have been able to provide that. So I think that collaboration with other community organizations and getting the parents out there to speak and to express their concerns individually. I think it's also a misconception that all immigrants are all the same. We've had people here who have come in and we've had to help them because they don't write, and some do. Just like here in America, we have people who are illegitimate. They can't read, illiterate. People come to this country and they're illiterate as well. And if they're illiterate in their language, expecting them to be able to function here is almost impossible without additional support. And when I became an educator, I remember becoming an educator. I want to work for these kids. I want to work for these kids. And it's amazing how life presents its challenges. And I realized that if I don't educate my parents, I wouldn't be able to educate my kids. Because if the parents weren't aware of the expectations and what the guidelines were and how to achieve, there's no way they can project that information to the parents. So Spanish translation is really important. You know, one of the things that I can tell you is my biggest pet peeve lately is undivided attention. So I find myself telling people, okay, when do you have time to meet with me for 15 minutes when your focus is just going to be me? Because sometimes our parents come in to speak to a teacher or speak to a staff member. They get interrupted, you know, or someone comes and knocks on the door, just different things. We really need to show them that we value them. And I remember the point when I can literally remember when I said, gee, it's my job to also educate the parents. And yes, I don't get paid for it, and that's okay. But if I really want my students to get the maximum benefit of education, I have to reach out to the homes and I have to work with the parents. And that's when we started getting more activities in the school where the parents were involved in math activities and reading activities. And one particular, I'm going to get one particular case. I remember where there was a math activity where there was a foot traced on sheets of paper, and the parents had to line them up to estimate how many feet was a distance. And I remember this big man came in and said, wow, I never thought about that. And I just remembered, I said, gee whiz, the word estimation just became alive to that dad and to that family because they were able to experience it. So, and by the way, this was a monolingual parent. So imagine the impact on a parent who's coming here illiterate to this country, who doesn't understand the language, but they're being exposed to different experiences. So I'm just gonna, number one is we need to get Spanish speaking. You know, we're also getting, we see a lot of Haitians in our schools. We need to get different people with different languages and maybe maximize some of the college students programs to come in and work with our kids, so that they can have a little bit more support, because the needs are great. And I know that even in a classroom, one teacher, even for 15 minutes, 15 kids, one teacher, and this is a low number, okay? This is kind of ideal. But one teacher for 15 students, more than likely, you've got at least 13 different reading levels and 13 different math levels. So obviously the needs are great, and it is a challenge, but we need to start chipping away at the little easy points that we can, so that our parents feel welcomed, our parents feel valued, their kids feel valued, they understand they came here to get their kids educated. They want their kids to get the maximum opportunity, but they need to be able to be engaged in learning experiences where they can fully take advantage of what's there for the future. We want all of our kids to be educated right now. And we look at our urban areas and you see, you know, so many people, and not even immigrants, people who are just learning low wages. We need to make sure that all of our community, all of our students earn a salary that they can afford a rent. You know, I right now I know of a family, there are two families, a mom and dad with two kids and another mom and dad with two kids, who are living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And now these, by the way, these are recent immigrants. One of them just came here about 1.5 years ago. I've been working with this family for about 1.5 years, and the other one just got here a few months ago. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, I can imagine these kids come to school, and how can you sleep when you can? I slept with my grandson slept over last night, and I slept with him on a queen size sofa bed, and I couldn't sleep. I can imagine getting up and going to school when you haven't fully slept. So you know, there are just lots of things. I think conversations need to happen with them. I feel that this is a pet peeve of mine. I don't feel that someone should have to go to an advocate to get the service that they need, because the school community should be providing that. And I remember as an educator, you know, so-and-so's coming in with an advocate, you know, and the antennas are up. And I just said, well, why do they need an advocate if we're here? Or why do they feel they need an advocate? So obviously somewhere along the line, and by the way, I like to say that usually when our parents were in our school, after a while, they felt welcome and they didn't need that outside help. But the newcomers oftentimes felt that they needed it, to take a stand, and that shouldn't happen. Our schools should be places where everyone can, well, not everyone, obviously parents and kids can feel welcome, meet with their needs addressed, and we need to really look outside the box. What other opportunities are there to meet those needs, and maybe equip parents with the skills to be able to help other parents within the community. So I know time, I don't know how time is up, but I'm assuming. Does anyone have any questions?
You do have someone who just, go ahead.
I just wanted to interact with that about our families when they come into our schools, that there are families that come like right across the bridge, the water, and what the services that our schools will render to those families are. The first thing is McKinney-Vento. McKinney-Vento is the first resource that we offer. These are unaccompanied minors, that the first thing that we go is to McKinney-Vento, which is going to service their needs quickly. These kids are going to come without medical attention, without medical background. So, and our schools are mandated to have these physicals and these vaccinations, but they are kind of exempt from this in a way, because we want to make sure that they get into those schools immediately. But we also have so many resources out there for these kids. So we get them quick into those school-based clinics, quick into these clinics that we have available in New Haven. So those resources for these families that are in need, that are coming from these countries, McKinney-Vento is like the first thing that comes to mind when we see these kids coming from different countries. So that is my number one resource that comes to mind.
I think that's great. I know having used McKinney-Vento for years, the services is really great. But we also have to remember that we have a lot of parents here. I have one particular mom, two, actually three. Whoa, three, who have been here 18, 20 years, and these parents are waiting to become legal. And they've gone through and they've paid their taxes. They're paid into the lawyers, and have gone to hearings, et cetera, et cetera. And even all of that is a deterrent for them. The time that it takes for them to get involved with this, one mom told me, how long is it going to take? We've been here for 19 years. We're paying taxes. We've done everything that we've had to do. We've paid $15,000 to this lawyer. I almost felt like, maybe I should try to get a hold of the lawyer myself. But these are all immigrants are not the same, as no one is for that matter. But when we talk about people who are the most recent, and I'm going to say in 20 years, the past 20 years, immigrants have changed. And actually immigrants have changed. I remember the waves when the Vietnamese and the Laotians and the Cambodians that came, and there are waves, but everyone has a need. And sometimes what happens is we assume they're immigrants, let's meet their needs one way, and it doesn't. It needs to be tailored. It's just like, education has to be differentiated. It has to be tailored to the student's needs and the student's learning styles. It really applies to a lot. It goes a lot beyond.
So I think what I hear you saying, Lourdes, is that we are looking for perhaps what I like to call those technical answers, which is like provide them an interpreter, provide this, provide that, which we all do, but that's not enough. Because unless we get to know who they are and they get to trust us, then nothing else is going to matter for them. So they're not going to learn that their kids need to be in school.
Yeah. It's relational. I can tell you that in the past 6 years that I've been working in a different capacity with parents. Number one, it's so enriching, but time and time again, these people will come to me with everything. I mean, they tell me everything, stuff I don't even want to get involved with, but because they trust me and they know that I want the best, you know, and not just me, but the people within our community that we have been able to train, some thanks to CERC, that they know that we're there for them, no ulterior motives, just to keep, you know, just to make our society better, make them better, and make this country the country that it's intended to be. You know, but we need to show compassion. We need to show love. Love our fellow man, women, children, whatever. But you know, really, really love these kids and the parents. So.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Hi, I just want to say, you know, a lot of, if you're sitting here thinking about this and the relationships and how important it is, but and you're thinking, oh, it's so hard. How do we do this? One of the things I would start with is LEAP training. I would, if you're an administrator or if you're a home visitor, it's a 2-hour virtual training that really helps to understand how to connect with families and the importance of connecting in their own languages and how to meet them where they are. It doesn't have to be a home visit. Not everyone's comfortable with you coming in their home, but I've put LEAP in the chat, and we have 2 more trainings, but this can help you at least learn more about how to do these relational home visits to start building relationships. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So I think that, you know, what Lourdes, like I'm part of this chat with like the many groups that she's in, but this is what I watch. And Carrie, I like what you're saying with LEAP. I know that she does home visits because I see it on the WhatsApp chat. But what I noticed is that they don't really ask in that chat for anything related to school. They ask for their needs. They ask about, like, I see her putting free bed. I'm like, oh, a free bed. Like things like that. It's so little, but like, I'm like, oh, okay. So, or like, oh, go here on this Friday night. And so I will say to her, like, how many parents did you have? She'll say like, oh, I had like 20 parents and their adolescents. Look, they were doing stuff. And so it hit me that that trust that it takes a while was started. So like by not judging, by having that compassion and building that relationship, right? In a way that helped them understand schooling. And I will tell you that, you know, that they're Raising Highly Capable Kids, that is a free program, but I would say to you that you should also do it or contact her along with the LEAP. And that's for the parents, because they get to learn developmental assets so that they can understand why their children need to be in school. So I know we're done, so I will send Christine the PowerPoint and the resources. And I want to thank you for allowing us to be here for a little bit at least.
Thank you so much, Nita and Lourdes. This was some great information. If you notice, I also added some resources into the chat box that everyone can save, and they're really wonderful. But we'll also send them out in the follow-up email just so you have access to them in another way. But we do thank you. This was such important content. I love what Lourdes said. You know, it's those incremental little bits at a time. You know, I think sometimes we envision an all at once, and we need to really solve it. But making those changes and those relationships and those pieces and incremental, I think it's just so important. So thank you so much. And just a reminder, like I mentioned, we are at the end of the 2023 Talk Tuesdays. Our next Talk Tuesday is going to be January 9th, 2024. If you know someone that would like to register, it's ongoing rolling registration. Please forward them the link or let them know about it, or contact Holly Ryan, and we can help support you with that. But we are definitely looking forward to some more Talk Tuesdays to come. Here's our contact information. If you need anything, please reach out and contact us. We also provide Nita's contact information as well in the follow-up, so in case you have any questions, and if Lourdes is okay with that as well. But oh, thank you, Lourdes. No, I appreciate that. That way, if they have any further questions or want resources, we could just have them reach out. We thank you all for being here today with us. We wish you really a happy, healthy, safe holiday season and a very happy new year to come. We really can't wait to go to 2024 with just more content strategies, district supports, and anything that we can bring you. But we thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lourdes.
Have a great day.
You too.